Washington Football Maniacs.
All right, well, so we know that Jaden Daniels will not play Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. He probably could if we really, really had to have him. Well, honestly, we really do need him, but I'm telling you what, I do agree. If he's the least little bit injured at this point of the season, I think you do need to consider keeping him out. He needs to be 100%. Now, if this was toward the end of the season, there was a playoff spot on the line and we needed everybody in there, then I would say, yeah, I think you bandage him up as much as you possibly can. And you roll with it and you hope that he doesn't get hurt. But I think this is a good move by the coaching staff. Speaking of the coaching staff, of course, right now is the press conference of Dan Quinn. Speaks to the media before practice. I've kind of rolled this back, so we're going to start from the beginning and see what he has to say. So here we go.
All right, what's up, everybody? As we're getting rolling, I've talked a lot about identity and how we haven't turned that corner on that, and that's so important for us to get that done. And it would be great to have Terry and Debo back practicing today.
Yes,
they are definitely a big part of that.
Absolutely.
But the nature of our game is fluid and always will be. But who could be in the game, that could change. But what we do and how we do it, that cannot change, and that cannot be fluid. So everything this week, when I hit with the team, is focused on what we're doing, and probably even more important is to how we're doing it. And that's what we're going to dig into, and as we get through the preparation. But what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's where I'm at, and that's what I wanted to get across to the guys, and that'll all in turn bring us back to identity and turning that corner on that, because we haven't yet.
Are you ready? So you said you're going to look at everything on defense. Will we see any changes on defense?
I think what you'll see is improved play. I think that's obvious that we want to dig in. So when we wanted to look and assess to where we needed to make change and make adjustments, sometimes they're not these big overhauls, John, that make the major improvement. It's these small calibrations and adjustments, and so that is definitely underway. As we get out to practice today, I'm looking forward to seeing the speed. We're trying to eliminate the hesitation, and we will do that.
And when you look kind of as upset as we've seen you after a game the other day, so when you have a game like that, feeling like that, what do you do different this week? Did you dig into more of the defense than you normally would, or other side or other things than you normally would because of how that feeling?
Yeah, you wanted to dig in as hard as you can, and that's my job, to help solve problems and make sure we're playing like that identity like we like. So I absolutely did, to go back through in 7 games and find out, what did we like, what do we need to do differently, what needed to change. And it was a good process to go through, but the result has to be, on the field, and less hesitation, which increases speed, which increases our ability to go run and hit, and that's the objective.
Let's stop it right here for a second. So, of course, Dan Quinn talks about just kind of tweaking a few nuances, not really making like huge changes, but just some tweaks here and there, little things that he kind of feels will kind of go a long way. And I mean, I kind of get what he's saying. Us fans, we always feel like there's got to be huge wholesale changes, especially after a horrible loss, and especially after a horrible loss to your rival, your in-division rival, a rival that's been your rival for decades. And so, of course, fans are they're wanting to see some big changes, and just, the thing is not going to happen.
I know there's still plenty of season left, but you said after the game that you were surprised that the team is at this point. When you kind of look back, even back through training camp off season, have there been any moments where you're like, yeah, maybe that led to this, or anything pivotal in your mind that you think kind of contributed to this?
I don't think there's one specific, Nikki, but what I do know, and in visiting with the players too, we felt off, and we wanted to make sure all of us, what did that look like? And it starts, number one, like, man, let's throw a hell of a practice, to go. And when we did talk about from last year
Nikki
to this,
kind of talked about during training camp,
those kind of things. But
sorry
at the end
to
of
talk
it,
over, but
like, it still comes down to
Nikki did talk about things just seemed off during training camp, and a lot of people kind of wrecked her over the coals for that. But I mean, Nikki, she's sharp. She's going to tell you like it is, whether if you want to hear it or not, and she was spot on.
The practice, the work, the going for it. And so that's what I know works, and make sure we can all do that together. And so that's where they're at, I'm at. And so the frustration and anger and all those things can turn into the good once you allow all that to work for you in a good way. And otherwise you can feel tight, and when you're tight, you don't just play as fast and as aggressive as you need to. And I want to eliminate that tight. I was talking about earlier about a hesitation, like a misstep. I think all of those things, when you're tighter and one drop pass feels like the game's over, or, a miss here, and that's not it. It's into the next play, into the next moment, and we'll capture that.
Yeah, that's another thing that I want to kind of point out. What Coach Quinn is talking about is that he is kind of alluding to the fact that there's a lot of hesitation. And to me, when there's hesitation, it means that you don't really understand the assignment. You're not really sure if you're in the right position, the right spot or not. And, a lot of times that really, honestly, that comes down to the player. That's not the coach. The coach can do so much to get you ready. But when it comes down to it, if there's hesitation within your gameplay, that is on the player. And the player needs to understand that he's got to just jump. He's got to go and do. You can't just sit there and think about it for a second, because, a split second just to hesitate and you're getting burnt.
When you say that, is that more related to scheme, game day operations, personnel?
I think I'm just relating it to like the whole, performance that we've had. So, and I wouldn't say just game day. I think going into it, I'm looking for everything to level up, and we've got an excellent crew together.
Kind of a political statement. He's not going to pull.
We
he's
count
not
on
going
one
to.
another to get that done.
He's not going to throw anybody under the bus.
Corner
That's what I'm trying to
our
say.
Identity of how we need to, and so that's why it is so important to get that done.
Dan, in terms of getting more speed on the field, is that directly correlated to whatever guys are just picking stuff up quicker, recognizing things quicker, all the eye discipline, all the stuff you've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and whoever those guys are, those are the guys who are going to play?
Partially, and here's the reason, Dave. I wanted to go through and look at the calls to say what calls are causing some hesitation because it's expensive, this one to this. And so if we could eliminate some of those calls, I think that would allow as a unit for us to play faster. And so I agree, I haven't seen the speed that I've wanted, but I know we have speed. So the part of that to say, okay, how can we feature some things that we can absolutely go and less hesitation, less misstep, and eliminate that what could happen, and really allow us to play more free. And so that's what I tried to dig in as hard as I could.
I think he's just talking, alluding to calls.
If I could ask you a completely unrelated to your football team question.
Sure.
There's a bit of an investigation going on in the league that I cover a lot in the NBA.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that is.
I was wondering, like, once the season begins and you've got a million things on your plate, how do you kind of reiterate, reinforce? Here are the things we cannot do. Here are the things, the associations you cannot have as the season goes on.
Yeah. You want to be able to apply any lessons that you can whenever that you can. And the league does an excellent job of outlining this.
Softball.
But I do think it's important whether it's
Thrown out there. I'm not sure what that has to
another
do with
league,
anything, but
another
okay.
team, when things come up, that you can take the minute. We have it. Take the minute. Is there a lesson that can apply to any of us? And that's what we do. And sometimes it's in the sport. Sometimes it's in life, where it's away from the sport. But it is important. The league does a very good job at the start, but I think anytime you get a chance to reinforce things that could mean a lot, that's a big deal.
Dan, it was reported yesterday that Jaden is not going to play this week due to his hamstring injury. I guess, could you confirm that? And then just with his injury moving forward, is there any long-term concern with, that hamstring?
Yep, he is. That is confirmed. Like, he will be out this week, and Marcus will start. I'd said, I think, it was Monday. I'm getting my days mixed up, but we knew it wasn't going to be significant, meaning long, but also not well enough to say, okay, in 6 days, it's ready to go based on speed and how you would, handle this type of injury. So all of the week will be focused for him on the rehab in hopes of the following week. And so I'll assess that next week, but as opposed to some practice, some not, just put all of it, all the time and effort into that.
And with Jaden, I know it's been different injuries, different legs, not necessarily related to one another, but is there anything that you think you guys can learn from his injury so far, or does it just kind of feel like a nature of having bad luck so far?
From the first one, we tried to.
Yeah, so if I can interpret that question, the question is, do you think that Jaden Daniels is going to be injury prone? That's what I'm getting out of that question.
Learn quite a bit to make sure there couldn't be a specific hit that could be avoided. When you're outside the pocket, when can you remain a passer? When can you run? And so that's true for any quarterback that has the ability to scramble and turn plays into big ones. We're facing one this Monday night. Similar in that way, to extend plays and when to remain a passer, when he runs. And so that was the big lesson and takeaway for me on that. And so not related to the hamstring, but I was pleased to see some lessons being learned for that.
You talked about having conversations with players, and I assume we're talking about kind of on the defensive side of the ball. What was their feedback to you for why they felt off? And was it just kind of the hesitation that you're talking about, or was it other things?
It wasn't just that. I do ask the players a lot, is there any call that you don't like that's too, costs too much, meaning like this check, this check, this check. And if we can eliminate any of those, I'm for that. And so that is how I communicate very directly to somebody. And sometimes
still not getting what he means by cost too much.
I understand, but we still need to do X, Y, and Z in that. Or it's expensive, but we still need to do it. The other part is about, we're going to really go compete against one another. And that's what I'm looking forward to, getting rolling with the guys. Full week to get rolling. Getting one another ready, that's a big part of it too. And so I'm looking forward to having a full crew here, with the exception of Jaden, having some matchups. There'll be some just good battling to go and sharpen ourselves up, and I'm looking forward to that too.
As you guys are going through some adversity, Kansas City on deck, how important is this window to you, maybe to see how your guys respond?
Pretty important.
Yeah, you want to see momentum for sure, about how you play. And so when you make some changes, even if they're small, you want to see how are they being applied, how are they being used to gain that momentum shift that you're looking for. So, all of that matters, but I want to see that applied onto the field.
Coach, in relation to getting beyond the anger and frustration, and as you said, getting back to and finding that identity, as a leader of men in that locker room, how do you communicate and hammer that home to the players?
We discuss it. Like, one thing that's awesome about being a part of this team, like, there are some excellent leaders, as a part of this group, and some really smart people. And so I wanted to say first, hey, man, these are the things that I'm seeing. It felt off. And like, before we ever got on to Kansas City, to say, let's talk about us and things that we can do better and how can we play faster. And I love getting players' insights because they're able to share things from the view of the helmet. They're able to share things from them competing against one another. That's
Dan
different
Quinn,
than coaching. And
he's a player's
if you
coach,
don't listen
for sure.
to that, man,
not
you're
in the
missing,
sense of Club
about
J,
the guys who are directly in the fight. And
he's
we've got a lot of excellent
definitely
leaders. So I absolutely
again, he's not going to
have
throw
leaned in
anybody
on them
under
hard,
the bus, even his own
to find
coaches.
those adjustments.
But yeah, he's definitely
It's
a
not
player's
this major
coach.
overhaul, but things that, even though it seems small, can have major
Sometimes that's
dividends.
good and sometimes that's bad.
For yourself on the headsets on game days, kind of in the heat of it, do you rely more on kind of the work that you do leading up to the game versus how much input you have as plays are being called or as the games go on in terms of what's being communicated out to the players on the field?
Yeah, for sure. Most of it from the week. So much of it also can be related to, are we going for it? Are we not? Are we punting? Is it field goal? Is it going for it on fourth down? So on the offensive side, it's mostly that. With Larry, it's usually in between calls about, what happened, what we would do. And I communicate with him when's punting, when's field goal. Defensively, obviously I've been in more of that to hear the call, to know what could be, said and done at that time. So it's a little bit different by the phase, but all of it involves the prep work for sure.
Obviously, injuries are part of things you guys have to fret about, but when they happen at one position like they do with defensive end, it sort of changes the landscape of what you're looking to do. Is it fair to say that you may have to do things differently at that position simply because of what's available versus, hey, we're going to keep doing our thing and just plug and play somebody else in there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, for Dorrance and DYs, these are heavy hitters for us, and specific to how they play. Not the same, run, edge setting, pass rushing to go. So, yeah, when that new opportunity comes for somebody, it won't be featured in exactly the same way. You're right, Ben. So that's part of the adjustment, to say, how do we do it, differently? It's not just plug and play. And so that opportunity for that next person, how do they put their own flavor on it? Won't be the next Dorrance or the next DYs. It'll be done a little bit differently. And it might not be all with one person,
And I don't think you're going to be able to do it with all one person. You're going to have to it's going to be defensive end by committee, and there's not much of a committee left. So you're definitely going to have to change things up on defense. I mean, that's obvious. You're not going to be able to just, plug and play. Fortunately, when it comes to the idea of plug and play, we're almost kind of there when it comes to quarterback, because Marcus Mariota, his style of play is extremely similar to how Jaden Daniels plays. And so you're able to kind of continue on with the same type of offensive scheme and game plan when Marcus Mariota is in there. And so that is a positive thing for Washington. But when it comes to the defense, yeah, again, when you lose so many guys in that one position, you're going to have to basically, to interpret all this, you're going to have to try to scheme up something to hide your deficiencies, because now you're really deficient there at defensive end. And so you're going to have to put guys in there, situational type of thing, that this player does better in pass rush, this other player does better in run support. Or maybe this player, for some reason, he's a very good cover type of edge guy. He can fake pressure and drop back and cover tight end. So, I mean, even though you would want your linebackers to do that, sometimes you have defensive ends that can do that as well. So it really depends. I think it's going to be a situational type of thing.
Split that up, and then it works its way through. But it is part of it, and you always are kind of thinking of the contingency plans to go do that. And when they come up, you adjust.
So, I mean, I think overall with this, they're not really, the media is not really, given like a lot of hardball type of questions, the tough questions that Dan Quinn really needs to answer, and he's not going to answer them because, for one thing, he's not going to throw anybody under the bus. Obviously, he's not going to fire anybody. Joe Witt is safe, and I really want to go back, if I can go to my watch history, and Sheehan. Let me get to his short here. Sorry. Let me get to his short here and let's just tear this apart a little bit.
Sucks. He has so many misses. Coleman,
Talk about
Sinnott,
Peters.
Lattimore, every kicker, Von Miller, many cornerbacks, Noah B., Debo, all misses, old, injury-prone roster. Misses? Do you know what he acquired? Do you know what he had to put together? You're gonna give him a year?
You know the situation.
Yeah, I would say it is a little bit of a fan overreaction, which you knew that was going to happen after a horrible, horrible loss to your rival, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, a horrible loss like this to any NFC East team is going to put Washington fans in a frame of mind where they just they're disgusted, rightfully so. I mean, last year, let's just tell like it is. Last year, the team overachieved, should not have gotten as far as they did, but they did, and it spoiled us a little bit.
Situation he walked into, Kev?
Yeah,
He had nothing.
honestly, after 24 years of just utter disaster and chaos year in and year out, and terrible football teams.
Yeah.
In his first year as a GM, by the way, people are killing Quinn too. In his first year as a GM and his first year as a head coach here,
Well, I mean, yeah, after 1 year. They didn't kill him in his first year. They're killing these guys in their second year. So I totally get it, though. Fans are, even myself included, after last year, had to eat a lot of crow because Quinn was not our pick. But Quinn really came in and showed that he was truly the best fit as head coach for this team. And of course, Adam Peters, I feel like overall has done a really good job, but now things are starting to get picked apart because of injuries, because of age, and it really, injuries and age really started to show up in the last game.
they went to the NFC Championship game. Okay, call it luck, call it hitting the inside straight, whatever you want to call it. They got there. It was the most joyous season this town has had for the football team in 34 years.
Yeah.
And
the last time that the Washington team went to the NFC conference title game was 1991. Yours truly was like 16 years old at that time. And that, of course, that was the last year they went to the Super Bowl and won it all. So in 34 years, you're telling me that this team goes all the way to the conference title game. We're living on cloud 9, but we're going into a season that we all knew ahead of time was going to be a very tough season for this team. The schedule's brutal. I mean, a lot of primetime games, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, a very brutal schedule. Not a lot of games back to back at home. A lot of we're at home and then we're away for a game or two, coming back home. It's been a brutal schedule and it's getting even tougher. So we all knew this was going to happen. We knew that for this team to win as many games as this year as they did last year, they would have to be Super Bowl contenders. And I think a lot of us, myself included, kind of started drinking a little bit of that Kool-Aid, thinking, okay, this is a Super Bowl team. When in reality, we realized there were still some holes that needed to be filled. And along with injuries, unfortunately, that is true. And it just really brings us back down to earth, knowing that this team is not quite ready yet.
And at 3-4, you want to move on? You want to kill Adam Peters when he acquired a cupboard that was so bare? Imagine just 2 of the 4 first-round picks. Let's just say Chase Daniel and Emmanuel Forbes are significant contributors on defense. You think it would be the same? How about just a couple of players from that era being, significant right now for them? Duran is. Yeah. Terry is. Yeah. Come on, people.
Yeah, so I get what Kevin Sheehan is saying. And of course, he's not the only one. There's been a lot of posts from Team 980, and I would also say that there was it what's his name? Linnell Washington, was that it? He just really tore in. I mean, big time. Maybe I thought I was going to be able to find it. It was another short. And I'm not sure if this one is not.
To me, Kevin, whatever you have
No,
to
this.
do, I always organizational failure. Did you bring in the right guys? Are you coaching them the right way? Are they just not good enough, or are they not?
John
You know,
Kine.
so what is it? But it's. I think what Quinn will always say in this is it's not one thing, which I would agree with. I don't think there's one easy solution here. I don't think there's like this player mutiny on the coach or anything like that. But it's, you know, I don't, to my knowledge, right? So, but it doesn't get this bad without a lot of help from a lot of people. To me, Kevin, whenever.
Okay, yeah. So what John Kime is saying, there's not really one particular reason why that Washington is 3-4 right now. There isn't, and honestly, there's several reasons you can contribute to the tough spot for the Washington Commanders right now. Injuries, number one. You know, your star quarterback's been in and out of the lineup because of injuries. You've had injuries to the starting running back, Austin Eckler. You've had injuries to 3 of your starting wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. Noah Brown has not seen the field. And then you've had numerous defensive ends all go down for season-ending injuries. You've had Will Harris in the secondary, the secondary is playing really well as a unit when Will Harris was in there. And I've noticed a huge difference with Will Harris being out. Now, sometimes a lot of us don't really see that. You know, we try to pick on individual performances, but just the truth of the matter is that secondary almost needs what you consider their quarterback as well for that group. And basically what I'm saying is you need a guy who knows how to put all the guys in the right place. And it seems like when Will Harris was in there, the guys were making plays. You've seen Lattimore kind of, disappearing, but in a good way, because we're not calling his number because he's shutting down his receivers. Same way with Trey Amos. And that's because you had guys like Will Harris who knew how to put these guys in the right spot. Also knew how to put the other safeties in the right spots and inside corners and things like that. So with him being out, there's been a big difference. And I don't think anybody realized how big of a difference it was with Will Harris being out. So the point is, injuries has really been an issue. Has it been a scheme issue? You can argue that, but I don't know. I think if anything, the scheme issue is just the fact that when you have to bring in other players to kind of plug and play, and these players are just not as good at, maybe man to man as what some other players are, or these players are not good with run stop as well as these other injured players are, that sort of thing. You have to adjust your scheme. And so overall, I think the only time that really becomes an issue when the scheme is an issue, and we've had the same scheme last year. Things were working. I mean, yeah, the defense still was not there, but that was in large part due to a defense that couldn't stop the run. This year, when the season started, the defense was doing really well against the run. Then injuries started mounting up. Suddenly, we're getting gashed. So injuries, having to tweak your scheme because of personnel that's had to come off the bench, had to come off the practice field to start to play for you. That has a lot to do with it as well. I mean, quite frankly, when you have your top 3 wide receivers not playing, you think that's you're just going to keep going and you're going to score 40 points per game. Yeah, I mean, Terry wasn't really lightening up a lot in the games that he played initially, but he was there. And a lot of times what happens is even if that receiver is not targeted, he's getting double teamed. He's opening up things for other receivers, and other receivers are making a big plays. So you can't just go on the simple fact that, well, Terry hadn't really caught a bunch of passes. Well, maybe not, but him being in there was still extremely effective for the offense. And with him out of there, you could tell there's a little bit of a difference. Debo was able to do his thing, but when you have both Debo and Terry McLaurin out, you think that your offense is going to just keep on clicking on all cylinders. They're going to struggle. I think also not having Austin Eckler in there, I think has really been a struggle as well. So, I mean, don't tell me that, next man up. Yes, that's the mentality, but the truth is that if the next man up could be just as good of a starter as your starters in there, then he would be starting for another team. And there's a reason why that these guys are backups. There's a reason why that these guys are on the practice field, because they are not quite there yet. They can probably do some things really well. They can play really well and spot, situations. But to be in there as full-time starters, they're not there yet. And so you got to understand, really, honestly, injuries, I think, if I had to pinpoint it, yeah, injuries are definitely the biggest reason. But I think there's a lot of reasons as well. And so to really pinpoint it on one or two things is being kind of disingenuous, I think, honestly. Hey, we're going into Monday night, going against a very hot Kansas City team that shut out the Las Vegas Raiders. But now the Las Vegas Raiders, we beat them up pretty well. So, they're not really a very good team. I still feel like that we can hang with them. I don't think anybody thinks we're going to win Monday night. That might be the perfect time for this team to shine, but they're going to have to shine without Jaden Daniels, and that's going to be very tough on this team. I just we probably are headed to 3-5, probably, but you know what? What can we do? What can we do?